Hello, I am Barbara, and welcome to Around the WNBA. Tonight we're talking about the game of the New York Liberty versus the Washington Mystics. And it was an okay game. It really was. In the first quarter, unfortunately, John Quell got hurt her ankle, and so she basically didn't come back for the duration of the game. So I hope that she's okay. I'll keep you posted on that. And also, the Mystics were on point. They were on point in their defense, in their offense. They were handling the ball really well. I mean, it was really good, and I was really excited about maybe they might win. Maybe they might, do something different, and New York might not win this game. You know what I mean? And then as we went along, basically, Iriafen, one of the rookies, she got a couple of fouls, which was tough because it's still early on in the game. And that is not a good look for her in terms of, so early. But the game went on. And then they had the half. And at the half, Iriafen had 4 fouls. Okay, at the half. And you know how they do those halftime reports. And one of the coaches stepped up and was asked about, are they worried about Iriafen and the number of fouls she has right now? And the coach was like, no, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, no, I'm not worried about, we're not worried about her fouls. We just want her to go out there and do her thing and, and play ball and be herself and that kind of thing. And I was like, that's interesting. Now, if you're a rookie, is it better for your coach to say, go out there and be yourself and do your thing? Or is it better for the coach to do some teaching at that juncture and say, you want to do something different so that you don't get these fouls, you don't receive these fouls. So how can we assist you in that? And to really talk to her about that and go through that with her so she'll stop doing that or stop putting herself in the way of doing that, especially when you're playing the New York Liberty. You see, there are certain teams, and I'm sure y'all know this, there are certain teams, certain members of certain teams, who should do a master's program in how to give a foul. How to, make someone foul them on the way up to the hoop, how to do it when you're in transition, whatever. There are some players on certain teams, New York is one, where Stewie spends so much time at the free throw line. Y'all ever notice that? She's skilled at doing it. And when she gets to the free throw line, guess what? She makes the buckets. It's a rare occasion that she misses. And so, why do all that work, to get a basket when you can actually induce someone to foul you and go to the free throw line and get get the 2 buckets? So there are folks like Iriafen who have to learn this about Stewie, because if they don't, she's going to continue to get fouls called on her continually, early on in the game, to the point where they're going to be wondering, okay, we can't put Iriafen in anymore because she's fouled out, and it's only like the second quarter. It's only the second quarter or the beginning of the third. That's not a good look. So when the coach said something about, oh, let her be yourself and whatever, I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's one thing about being yourself. There's a whole other thing about a teaching moment and being concerned when someone gets that many fouls early on in the game, especially when they're one of the best players right now. Okay? There was one part in the play where Sabrina and Sykes were, running, down court running and trying to get that to the hoop. And a foul was called on Sykes. And I'm like, wait a minute, because I'm watching it and they replayed it and I'm like, it looks like Sabrina made the first move of that foul. So why didn't it get called on her? Okay. They played it back and they had this big to do about it. They went to the tape and all that. And they said that the foul was on Sykes prior to what happened with what, Sabrina did. I'm like, what? Okay, because what I saw was Sykes was just doing a usual basketball play as you're running down the court with someone, with your opponent. And, so I didn't really see all that. I could have missed it. Could have happened. But it was funny because after that event happened, Sykes made a movement of saying that, Sabrina was like flailing, and stuff like that. And it was funny because the movement that Sykes made reminded me of the Thriller video with Michael Jackson and some of the moves that he did. So it was like comical when she did that. Someone should do a meme on that. But anyways, a meme on that anyways. But it was funny in terms of what Sykes did afterwards. In terms of Iriafen and in terms of Citron, they both did well. Despite Iriafen getting, personal fouls and accumulating those things. Even though Citron scored and she made some buckets, it was almost like she wasn't playing up to par. Like she could have got even more. So a little bit of something that was a little bit off, it seemed. Maybe it was just me, I don't know, but something seemed a little bit off with her. Although she did make some buckets, and she still was like, her head was still in the game for the most part. But one of the things I noticed with this team is that, and I would say this, about any team really, but about the Mystics. If you are passing the ball, okay, and you are trying to get it to someone and you're, doing your move, whatever, your scheme, you better make sure that you can actually pass the ball. If you're in a lot of traffic with the opponents, why are you putting the ball right into the traffic? When every time you've done that, it's been not a good thing. And so what I've noticed is that sometimes players try to do the no-look thing or to do these fancy passes and all of this when they actually should not be the one doing them because they're not skilled at passing that way. There are some certain people, Caitlin Clark, Ari, Cloud, and a few other ones who are point guards who actually can do that. Who actually can pass the ball and have the strength and the muscle to even pass the ball, like it's a football, way down the court, okay? But there are some that can't do that. And when they attempt to do it, the ball always gets, given away. It's a turnover, and it's a lost point, and a point given to the other team. So I hope that they will work on that and see that in the tape and go back and say, you know what, we should work on this and get better at this. Passing the ball so that it actually meets the person's hands that they're passing it to. The last thing I want to say before we get into just the stats or whatever for the game is that whenever the New York team is playing, I've got to the habit of really watching the calls that are being made by the refs, regarding that team and the team that they're facing. It seems like that when they are on the court, they have spend a lot of time at the free throw line, for one thing. But sometimes those calls that are made shouldn't be made, and the calls that are, should be made don't get made. So, I don't know what it is, but I would invite you all just to watch it when New York plays and see if you see anything different. I mean, we watch it whenever anybody plays, what the refs are saying, what the refs are doing, and how they're calling the games. But I really have been paying close attention to New York because it seems like sometimes they're getting breaks where, it might be a little peculiar. Perhaps. So let's go over some numbers. Okay, so in the first quarter, New York was 17, okay, and Washington was 22. So that says a lot. In the second quarter, New York was 32. 32, okay? And Washington was 12. So that's when New York took a hold of the lead. Quarter 3, 24-23. New York, so it was close. Quarter 4, New York 13, and Washington 21. So Washington wasn't too far behind, but behind enough that they gave the win to New York. Okay, now check this out. Check this out. Iriafen, 17 points. 17 points. That's not shabby. 9 rebounds, 1 assist. Melbourne, 15 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Citron, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Austin, 9 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists. Dolson, 8 points, 1 assist. Sykes, 7 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists. Angstler, 4 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. Edwards, 3 points, 1 rebound, and Sutton, 2 points and 2 rebounds. Olsen was in there for 2.44 minutes and didn't really do much of anything. So, she's not really, if you think about what the other rookies are doing in terms of their points and rebounds or what have you, she's not really where they are. So we'll see how she fans out, in terms of the future. But she has not been to par with the other rookies. Citron and Iriafen sort of lead the way. New York, Stewie had 26 points, 11 rebounds, and 1 assist. Sabrina had 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists. Burke, 12 points, 5 rebounds. Fibic, 9 points, 3 rebounds. Gardner, 9 points, 2 rebounds. Harris, 7 points, 5 rebounds. Cloud, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. Jones, 3 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist. And Johannes, 3 points and 1 rebound and 1 assist. So, that is interesting. And I want to look at also the Ionescu had 2 3-pointers that were made out of 10. Burke had 4 out of 4. Fibic had 2 out of 4. And Gardner had 1 out of 1. And Johannes had 1 out of 2. That's not too bad. Let's look at the Mystics. Melbourne had 2 3-pointers made out of 3. Citron, 2 out of 4. Sykes, 1 out of 2. And that was it. So basically, New York dominated with the 3-pointers for the game. Like I said, it was a good game, and I wish that the Mystics could have kept it up in the third and the fourth quarter in terms of really being consistent with their defense and their offense and really, push the pace more. They would have had probably more of an opportunity to beat the Liberty. The Liberty are the Liberty. They're a good team. Anybody playing the Liberty, anybody playing one of the top teams, they got to be on point. You can't be messing up. You can't be turning over. You can't be getting yourself in foul trouble. You have to understand, what Stewie's doing when she's under the basket in the paint. You got to understand what she's doing when she's, gonna, bump up against you and so you get, called on to have a foul. And same thing with Inescu. I mean, we have a lot of people on that team who could probably win an award. Like the actresses do on TV. They are skilled. They play strategically to win. They want to win. And when someone wants to win, when you have that mentality, when you want to win, there's people in the camp where winning is done honestly and fair and all of that with competition and what have you. Then there's those who will go to any lengths to get a win. And sometimes, it's not a good thing because of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Then others might say, well, the basketball game is full of strategies and strategic moves and it's all fair play, in terms of being on the court and competition. Okay, I get you. This is why people need to understand these teams that are winning, that have no losses, okay, that's happening for a reason. And if they study them, mindfully study them, they're going to see what they're doing, how they're doing it. Because it's pretty easy to see. All right? It's pretty easy to see. Not to mention, and let me just say this, they are skilled at shooting, 3-pointers and otherwise. So when they go to the line, they're going to make those buckets. When they're shooting a 3-pointer, it's not just, Sabrina, it's just not Stewie. There are other folks on that team that can do the same thing. Okay? And they're not bashful about it at all. Okay? They're not bashful about going into the paint at all. Sabrina doesn't do it often enough, but she does it sometimes. Okay? So when you're playing basketball, having that kind of hesitancy or not paying attention to who you're throwing the ball to and what's going on in that particular area, could be the difference of you winning a game or losing a game. And that's what I believe that the Mystics found out, unfortunately. So that's about wrapping it up for today. But basically, I look forward to seeing the New York Liberty versus the Minnesota Lynx. Those are going to be interesting games when they happen down the road. So, if you've enjoyed this content, please give a thumbs up, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking about the game of the New York Liberty versus the Washington Mystics, what your thoughts were, your take were on the games. And, hey, and let's keep it going. This is Barbara, around the WNBA. Until next time.